welcome to the Cosmic Stream. This is going to be a little bit different than like the normal Avalive because with like the Ave, what I tend to do is I'll have like a guest or somebody in. It's just going to be me tonight, kind of blathering on about nonsense. So I hope everybody's got is having a great Memorial Day weekend. If you got something better to do and you don't want to hang out here with me, I'm not gonna no judgments, but here I am, and I'm going to talk about Avalon Universe tonight. So if someone has like a question about Avalon Universe that they want to ask in the comments, I'll try and respond to that. But other than that, I'm going to sort of just talk about what's going on with Avalon Universe and what we're doing and all the different ways that people are involved. So I guess I'll just get started, with the biggest thing is that we released the Test of Time last week. And it's gotten almost 15,000 views since we released it, which is amazing. The last fan film that we released prior to that was The Truth Within. We released that in December. And then so the Test of Time was a collaboration with Neutral Zone Studios. It was the second collaboration with Neutral Zone Studios, the first being Doomsday. And I have to admit that I am surprised by the way that people have reacted to it. I'm oddly enough, I'm surprised that people liked it as much as they have. Um, being kind of brutally honest about it for a minute. When you work in film, sometimes you have this thing you do where you try to stay in your lane, on a film set because if you try to interject yourself into a job on a film set that's not yours, it's rude. It's just not something you do. Um, Sometimes people refer to that as set ears. Just have some good set ears. Stay in your lane. So while I was on set for Test of Time, there were some things that I noticed, and I didn't say anything about them because it wasn't my job. I wasn't in that department. And people tend to have these preconceived notions of Star Trek. I'm going to be talking about this in some shorts that I'm going to put out as well. Um, they have preconceived notions about what they think Star Trek is, Star Trek should be, and if they encounter something, especially in fan film, that they think um, doesn't match those perceptions, they perceive that as wrong or they perceive that as an error. Um, Now there are some canon technical things like you can't use the transporter with the shields up, or if you try to shoot a phaser beam through a tractor beam, it'll reduce its power or something, things like that. But then there are more subjective things like, for example, how a character reacts to something, and even in that regard, if a character reacts in a way that a Star Trek fan doesn't think they should, they'll comment on a fan film. So, I saw some things while we were filming that I was like, man, we're going to get barbecued in the comments about this. Um, no one said a word. 15,000 views, no one said anything. I'm not gonna say what it is because if I did, then people might start noticing it. But it's just fascinating to me that there were some things that I thought people wouldn't like about the film, and they haven't said about it. In fact, it's been overwhelmingly positive. Um, I could say the same thing about Doomsday. With Doomsday, um, I honestly thought that film was going to get savaged when we released it. I thought people were going to hate it, that it was going to get made fun of, that I thought it was going to be the laughing stock of fan films. I really did. I hate to say it like that. Um, but that's what I thought. I really struggled with that film, with editing it. No, that's not what people think at all. And I think that maybe that reflects our tendency to be overcritical of ourselves. Doomsday has been a hit all over the world. It's been awarded things across the world. It's gotten over 100,000 views, and that's amazing. That's surprising to me. I just didn't think that was going to be the reaction to it. I worked hard on it. I took over directing Doomsday sort of the day of the shoot. It was a thing where Ray was going to direct it, Ray Tessie. And he had other things come up in the middle of that, and he just sort of handed it off to me, and he was like, "Hey, I gotta go take care of some stuff. Can you do this?" And he just kind of, had more things, important things to do, and I kind of picked up the script and I went, took a red pen to it. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this, and started filming. We had a great time making the movie. We really did. It was like 150 degrees at the studio when we shot it. But we enjoyed it, and I think that that's something that maybe translates into the film, that people make. It's the same with the Test of Time. People really enjoyed making the Test of Time. That was 4 really fun days, and I know that when we shot that, I was, calling my wife and saying, I wish I could be doing this every day. I wish I was doing this every day. Unfortunately, you can't work on a Star Trek fan film every day, but you can work on it when you can. Um, During the day, what I have to do is I make TV commercials, local TV commercials for, retirement homes and restaurants and, car dealerships and insurance companies and all kinds of stuff like that. That's what I do during the day. So of course, it's really exciting to go shoot a Star Trek fan film on the weekend. But people have liked these films, and I'm grateful for that. The next thing that we have up, I think, I'm not sure. We've got two different films that are basically in the same place. They're basically at an equal level of finishedness, and one is Knights of the Void, which is an Avalon Universe story. It's a principal Avalon Universe core story film about Captain Mason and Lieutenant Commander Archer, and kind of furthers their adventure in that story. Um, and so that's almost finished. It's like 95% complete. We have one more pickup scene that we're going to shoot for it. Other than that, VFX, I'm starting to get the final VFX in from our friend Keith Hamilton, who's in the chat, and then Sam Cockings has some shots that he's going to be sending me as well. So we're starting to get in final VFX. Adam Mullen did the score on that one, and it's sounding really amazing. I'm proud of Knights of the Void in that I'm particularly proud of the acting from our cast in that. Tyler Donovan and Victoria Archer are the two principal actors in that film. And Victoria Archer, wow, she's really good at it, and she's really good in um, everything that she did this go around. Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, the Once and Future Captain. Uh, she just brought her game. She's grown as an actress so much since I met her when she was 17 years old. I saw a memory not too long ago pop up in my Facebook feed about the first film that I ever shot with her, which was back in 2017, and she was a kid. And we did this, kind of indie art film about, she was a painter. And it's amazing to think, it doesn't seem like 2017 is that long ago, but she's done such an amazing job growing as an actress since then, getting so much better. And I'm really proud of her performance in Knights of the Void. Tyler he's always been talented. Tyler has always been a talented actor. Um, I remember one of my favorite things that he ever did was that same year. It was later on in 2017. We did a film where he was playing a homeless guy who was who mugs this dude, this good Samaritan who tries to help him out. And I wrote dialogue for him, right? And he reads this dialogue and he goes, "Now, this really isn't working for me. I don't think that this is going to be, really good as a character." And I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" So he just go to this improv thing where he transforms into this character and he starts just improving a scene in front of him. And I said, "Do that. Just do that." And I went back to the script and I erased everything that I'd written dialogue wise, and I just wrote Tyler improvs. And when we shot the movie, Tyler's entire performance was improv in that film, and it was great. It was hilarious. The problem with that film was is that it was supposed to be this um, really dark and depressing art piece, and we had so much fun making it that translated to screen, so it wasn't like as dark and depressing as we wanted it to be. So we have to keep like editing and editing and editing and editing to like make it dark and depressing. We were laughing and having so much of a good time making it. But Tyler's always been good. Tyler's always been good. And I think that he's good in Knights of the Void. There are some interesting twists and turns for Mason in that film, and some really great dialogue from Archer. And you see their interpersonal relationship grow as they continue on this journey that those two characters embarked on, starting in Avalon Lost. So I'm really excited about that. The other film that we have is excuse me, my allergies are killing me today. The other film that we have is, it's not an Avalon Universe core story film. It's another collaboration somewhat with Neutral Zone Studios. Different, not really a classic Tales from the Neutral Zone like the two we've done previously. This is from a newcomer. As far as the writer of the film is a newcomer to Star Trek fan films. He really wanted to write a Star Trek fan film. His name's Brian Peterson. He became a friend of mine. He and I talked on the phone. We were instantly friends. When you watch this film, you'll figure out why. Um, but he wrote a Star Trek fan film and he wanted to make it, and so he got a hold of, the same group of people that essentially worked on Test of Time and said, "Hey, I'd really like you guys to make my fan film a reality." And we shot it not even very long ago. We shot it in like February. And it's almost finished. So the funny part about Test of Time is it took a year uh, to get it done because we had to like come up with a methodology. Vic Mignogna was using like a completely different editing system and software than I use. So we had to do this like offline online thing where he would edit on his computer and then send it to me. And then, essentially how that works is the offline is you edit with proxies that are like a lower resolution than the actual raw. And you make a cut and then you send that to somebody, and then they online it. They put it together at full resolution, which is what I did with Test of Time. Well, so that was part of it, figuring that out. And then the other part of it was that there's so much VFX Test of Time. There were all these 28th century spaceship things that we had to do where Sam would send me backgrounds and I would have to composite that with live footage. That in and of itself took months. And so um, it was a year, because of that process. Well, once we got to the end of that, and we saw there, I'm like, "We're not doing this again. We're not doing it like this again." I gave Vic the password to my Adobe Creative Cloud, and I created two mirrored hard drives that were, the drive had the same name, files and the folders all had the same names. He's got one, I've got one, and then we can both just access the same project file. And when it links to the media on the drive, just see the same stuff. So he can edit and then I can adjust, and he can edit and I can just, and that film is like, same as Knights of the Void. It's like 90, 95% done. I just shot it back in February. So Knights of the Void was a year ago. We had to wait to shoot with Victoria Archer, her part of it. But that film is 90% done. And so I actually probably cannot tell you which one of those films is going to get released first, because they're both really close. Um, for safety's sake, everyone's saying that this next film that we worked together with Brian Peterson on, we know the name. I don't know if they want me to say it, but that film, um, they're telling everyone the fall for safety. I don't think it'll be that long. Personally, I think that once the film gets in my hands, it's going to take me like a week to do what I need to get done. They're going to have some sound design by Ralph Miller, who worked on Star Trek Continues, um, and I think Vic is doing the music. So I don't see it. I don't see it being released in the fall. I think my preference would be in the next month. Don't quote me on that, because I don't know that that's going to happen. But I would love to release that film in like a month, and I think people are going to be really stunned by it. I think they're going to really think that it's pretty cool. It's like Julie says here in the comments. She said, "Stuff we shot this spring is really going to raise the bar on fan films. If how much fun on set and off is an indicator of how good it is, it's going to be awesome." True, and she's not just talking about. Um, that film. Talking about Avalon too, because we had a lot of fun doing that. Question from Eric Madison. Hey Joshua, look forward to future projects from Avalon Universe Productions. If you wanted to make a fan production of any of the Star Trek audiobooks, which would that be? Ooh, so like a book or an audiobook. That is a difficult question because I haven't read many Star Trek books. Um, a lot of the books that I've read have been Next Generation era. So that's obviously a lot harder. I guess if we were going to do it in an Avalon context, you know, there is a great Excalibur series, about the USS Excalibur in the Prime universe, and that's a really popular series with the character of Mackenzie Calhoun, and then Commander Captain Shelby involved in that. And that, really, Hidden Frontier was based on that. And that was one of the pathfinding Star Trek fan film series. But, I've thought, hey, if we were made it to the 24th century with Avalon Universe, might be neat to see some version of Mackenzie Calhoun, right? Because that's a fan favorite character. So that's a good question. Have you thought about, from Michael Reed, have you thought about submitting your ideas to the CBS network? Okay, well, that's an interesting question. I don't think they care much about my ideas. I can tell you that there was another fan film series that they made their fan film series basically as a pitch to CBS, or at least that was their hope. And they raised a lot of money. And they made a really widely seen Star Trek fan film, and they were hoping, had a lot of Star Trek actors in it. They were hoping to pitch to CBS, didn't quite work out. I think CBS has got enough going on, but here's what I will say about this. I wish that CBS had a fan film section on Paramount Plus, where we could give our fan films to CBS instead of just merely putting them on YouTube. We could actually give our fan films to CBS, and they could put them on Paramount Plus, and people could watch them. Wouldn't that be neat? Wouldn't that be a neat little thing, a neat little section you could go click on and see fan productions, and then they could be making money off of us. They really wouldn't complain about what we were doing. Not that they do. One thing that I will clear up about the whole CBS thing, people try to kind of get upset about CBS or give CBS a hard time. And look, CBS, they don't care what we're doing. They leave us alone. Really, the guidelines, the whole thing about the guidelines is that CBS Paramount wanted um, fan films to be legitimately made by fans. That's it. That's all they really wanted. There are all these particulars about time and what have you. And look, man, if we followed the letter of that, they could have shut us down in 2019. They wouldn't have allowed Avalon Lost. But um, ever since the guidelines were instituted, they've really not been enforced. I mean, every fandom produced kind of broken at least one or two of them, and we've never heard from them. And um, I think what the issue is there is that they didn't want um, fan films to be an arms race, like they said, between big productions to try and see who could one up each other. Another aspect of this is that there were a lot of former Star Trek actors. I think that they want it to be a thing, Star Trek actors. If you have a bunch of Star Trek actors, you have people that worked on Star Trek behind the camera. At some point, you're not really making a fan film anymore. You're making Star Trek because you've got all the creative people involved with Star Trek, right? They legitimately wanted it to be fan made. So it's like, if as long as you're not making a fan film with $1 million budget and you have, like, three Star Trek alumni actors in it, they don't care what we do. Don't, they may sweat that a fan film has George Takei in it, or it has John Delancey or something. They don't care that Starship Antilles released a 50-minute episode. They just don't care, because that's what they want. They want somebody like George Cahan who's doing it in his basement, or me. They're the people we want making fan films. We don't threaten them in any way. I'm a broke dude that works at a ABC station. I can make like 5 fan film year ops. And I think that they're fine with that. I obviously can't compete with them. Um, okay, so we got a comment from Terry. The audio on your productions, from the music to the overtures and the interludes to the background actors' voices, are mixed very well. Easy to watch and easy to listen to. Well, thank you, Terry. That's very kind. Audio is a huge part of filmmaking. And I think people sometimes realize how much audio is part of filmmaking. I know that the thing that, you know, I really took away from film school was that the only time anyone notices audio is if it's a screw up, right? If you're just watching a movie and you're just hearing the story, if you're just immersed in the story and you're hearing the music and the dialogue from the characters clearly, and you're lost in the story, you don't notice the audio. Like, no one's gonna watch a really good show like, man, the show sounds really good. Yeah, I mean, I guess Terry did that, but it's like, if people are noticing the audio, then that's taking them out of the film. So I'm glad that you appreciate that. I would say, um, in the post production process for any Avalon Universe film, the audio probably takes about 2 to 3 times long for me to work on as the visual. The visual is the easy part. I put a lot more time in the audio, so I appreciate that. Um, Years ago, I sent a movie to Paramount and basically got told to get lost because they only wanted people who already have one in place for better force. That's the movie industry. It's unfortunate. If you they want you to come. They don't want ideas. Everyone's got an idea, and oddly enough, no one in the movie industry wants an idea. This is something that I had to really find out the hard way in my life, is that a million people have ideas, and the problem that you get with the movie industry is that they want something proven. You know what I mean? A proven director, a proven filmmaker, a proven franchise even. That's why they're revisiting so many successful franchises from the past, is because they don't want to gamble on something and lose a bunch of money. So unfortunately, that's just the business, and yeah, it kind of sucks. As long as they don't think we're taking money out of their pockets, I don't think they care. Exactly. You know, um, and there's no way I could do that. There's no way I could do that. I mean, if you really look at, okay, Test of Time got 15,000 views. Well, that's cool. A failing TV show gets 2 million views a week. It's quite different. It's a big deal for us, for a fan film series, but um, it doesn't equate to really. I think that I looked at like Social Blade, which is a site that analyzes YouTube channels, and there's no monetization, of course, on the Avalon Universe channel because it's a fan film channel. You can't monetize those. But I looked at it and I was, what would it earn? What would its possible earnings be if I could monetize all it? I would have made $10,000 over the course of 5 years. Um, I've spent 50. So I think that if you spend 50 and you make 10, you're losing money there. So um, yeah, I think they're probably going to leave me alone. What next? I don't know. I think, I can tell you for certain that that Knights of the Void is going to come out in July. 95% certain that's when it's going to come out. My plan is to put it out a year after we did Into the One. And so that's my plan. And then I'd really like to see Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs come out on Halloween. Both films are on track for that. Crisis on Infinite Excalibur is a shot. It's done. We only need a couple of pickup shots. We're going to pick up shooting weekend in July. We're going to bring down David Butler Agronsoni, who's a good friend of mine, to have him be in the Winston Feud Captain. And he's going to have a very special scene where he plays Jaconde's father. He's been sick, and so we needed to wait for him to get well. And so in July he'll be feeling better, and so he's going to come down. And at that time, we'll do some pickup shots for we're going to do the one last scene for Knights of the Void. We're going to do one really big last scene we have to shoot for Winston Future Captain, and we're going to do a couple of pickup shots for Crisis. That'll be it, and unless just am going through the edit going, well, I need one more little thing, then we might do that. But I see that as being it. Which you're always shooting pickup shots last minute. We're going to have George Cahan is going to do some pickup shots for us. Parker Jr. did some shots for us that are going to be integrated into both of those films, Crisis and Winston Future Captain. And then we're going to, when Dreadnought shoots, Dreadnought Dominion, when they shoot, I'm going to go on and help them with their film and also shoot a cameo with Victoria Avalon to have her be in the Winston Future Captain. Would you make a series based on the TOS episode Assignment Earth someday? That would be so fun, wouldn't it? That's a good idea. That's a great idea. Let me tell you, if you do want to see a fan film a little bit to that effect, there's an episode of the Federation Files called Voices from the Past, produced by our friends Dan Reynolds and Glenn Wolfe, Warp 66 Studios. So, go to YouTube, look for the Federation Files, and there's an episode that sort of explores that. But yes, make a fan series based on Assignment Earth. That would be so fun because, they never really explored that. And a lot of people didn't like where they went with it in Star Trek Picard. So making a fan film series that, takes it in a more canon direction, maybe that's something we'll do someday. So that's a great idea. Thank you. Adam Mullen is here, and he says it's lots of fun to write music. Adam Mullen he is absolutely the James Horner of Star Trek fan films, and every story he makes for us is magic. If you were to see an Avalon Universe film without an Adam Mullen score in it, you wouldn't want to watch it. You'd just be like, well, it's really boring. It's like he has this way of, he makes it a film. He really brings it to life. And we're so dadgum lucky to have it all. What about an Avalon Universe version of Star Trek TOS audio called Prime Directive? It's on YouTube. Give it a listen. I will check it out. Avalon is going to, once we get out of the core story. So there's 3 films left in the core story: Knights of the Void, Crisis on Infinite Calibers, and the Once and Future Captain. Once we get out of the core story, we're going to do some other things. We're gonna make a film called The Omega Probe, which is a story by my friend Jim Von Doltrin that I'm writing the script for now. I'm going to shoot it early next year. And then there's going to be another one that is sort of tells a 4 years war story in the Avalon universe. Now, a lot of people are mistaken what I'm saying about this. It's not a version of Axanar. It's not a version of Axanar. It's not an Avalon version of Axanar. It is a story that takes place during the 4 years war. It's a very personal story that takes place on an ship, but it's not really it's not Axanar. It is a unique story to Avalon Universe and our characters, and I'll get more into that. There was a story, a film we did in late 2020 called Legacy, and the deal with Legacy was that we had a donor named Lee Pfeiffer, and he wanted to give us some money, help us out at Avalon Universe, but he had the request that he wanted his own film, his own like 5-minute film. And he had a goddaughter, and he had this goddaughter to star in the film with him, and he had his own thought on what a story like that would look like. So he said, hey, if you guys want this story for me, then I'll give you guys some money. So Victoria Fox was tasked with writing that script. So it was like an assignment that she was given. And to be fair, she did a really great job writing the script, and she did a really great job directing the film. And within the context of that film, that Lee Pfeiffer's character knew this young lady's mother. Didn't really say outright that she died. Implied that she had been the captain of that particular ship at one point. Just sort of implied, and I thought, what's that story? What's the story of this young lady's mother? Wouldn't that be a neat story to tell? And I had made, we'd worked on Interlude, and there were things about Interlude that I looked at and I went, battle tactics and things like, what if you had a different captain? What if you had a different strategy other than what happened here? And so I just thought about, if there was a scenario in the 4 years war where the ship was by itself and it was in this situation, and this was where this captain made a name, and then that you could then tie that to these characters in the present. And so that's what this film is going to be. We're hoping that film will star Crystal Hubbard, and that we get to make that at some point once the core story is finished. So that is a plan. Somebody else down here said they enjoyed Prelude. Are we ever going to get the full Axanar? Well, it's not up to me. This is a different channel. However, I will tell you I know about that. I do know that Alec Peters has done 2 shoots already for Axanar. Now, it's not going to be like an hour or 2-hour movie. It's going to be like a 30-minute, kind of like, it's going to be 30 minutes long. It's going to be kind of like Prelude in that it's documentary style. But he's done 2 shoots for that already. I know, I was there. I watched it. I saw it happen. He shot, had 2 really good, I think, really good shooting days already for Axanar. And I've spoken with him since, and he's told me what his plan is to finish. So I really hope that he's able to finish it, soon. I know that he's really excited about the direction it's going. I've actually seen a rough cut of it. I've seen a rough cut of what they have. Definitely not something I could share with one. It's definitely a rough cut. They still have some elements to shoot to add in, but it does exist. Take that for what it's worth. They are genuinely making the effort to finish this film. So, um, thanks for joining us. Um, there's a lot of Star Trek audiobook on YouTube from TOS, TNG, Voyager, DS9. Plenty of ideas for future projects. I appreciate that, Eric. I really do. One thing that I will say is that making films is quite difficult. Um, I've barely been able to hold it together doing this for 5 years. It's been kind of the greatest challenge of my life is to make these films because it's not easy. And so, you can have a lot of ideas. It's taking it from idea to finished product is a ton of work. And right now we have more things laid out than we're able to get through at the moment. But we're working on it, and so we may definitely come to a point where we're looking at some more stuff. And I appreciate that suggestion. I'm gonna look it out. Yeah, I did the best I could. It's not my fan film franchise. We have worked with Axanar, I've worked with Alec. um, we've made we have three fan films on our channel that sort of crossover. Like, there's Interlude, which actually takes place in the Axanar continuity. Check it out. It's a good film if you haven't seen it. Um, and then the one that I mentioned, Legacy. And then, we see the Ares class in Air and Darkness. So those are all three films that you can go check out and see if you like them. Um, so all the questions for the moment. But so what I do want to wander off in for a moment is reflecting on feedback. For the past week, I talked about a little bit about this at the very beginning, that these films have been really well received. Test of Time was really well received. Um, but what you do see happen is when you release another film, it feeds the channel, right? And so people will watch that film, then they'll watch the other films on the channel. And so we started to get higher numbers on previous projects that we've released, and then at the same time get comments and criticism. And it's fascinating. You can't what you can say is that you can't really base a whole lot of your decision making process on criticism. Why is that? Because you get a lot of contradictory criticism, and that's kind of an interesting thing to me. Like, for example, uh, um, there's photographic technique we use, something in pictures, something in cinema. People call it bokeh. That's the little name for bokeh. And what that really describes is, when you're in a close up with somebody, and the background's out of focus, and you got blinkies and lights and things in the background, and they kind of turn into this crisp little fuzzy out of focus balls, and it's looks really beautiful. That's bokeh, and filmmakers love bokeh. And one of the feedbacks that I got was, one person said, "You do that too much. It's too much bokeh. You're really you're separating um, the character from their environment," which that's what you're trying to do, and you are kind of trying to put the emphasis on the character with lighting, with your lens techniques and all that kind of stuff. But you're doing that too much, and when you have all these tight shots, it's like, it's really small in scale. It doesn't look big. But then I got some other feedback that was like, You really don't do that a lot. You don't really do a whole lot of bokeh, do you? It's all about bokeh. You're not doing a lot of bokeh. And, or there was one that was like, you're doing too many wide shots. And too many two shots and too many medium shots and too many wide shots. And you need a lot more tight shots. You need to really, really get in there with the lens. And so it makes me wonder, like, okay, if one person is telling me I'm doing way too many tight shots and too much bokeh, looks in scale, and another person is telling me I'm doing way too much wide shots and I need to get in on an 85 millimeter lens. Maybe I'm finding like a good equilibrium, like two different people are complaining about it. um it's kind of a weird thing there. um One in particular, one feedback that drives me bananas, and I'm gonna talk about this in a Facebook short or a YouTube short. Needs of the one. Needs of the one. The thing that I hear the most from people is they get all worked up because T'Pren smiles at the film, like, you have this Vulcan, she smiles, and it totally takes me out of it. Like, Vulcans don't smile. And I can't really say this in a short, but my long form answer to that is, well, what if we'd made a movie about a nun, right? What if we'd made a movie about a nun? And the subject of the movie is the nun falls in love with a guy, and she gives up being a nun, and at the end of the movie she makes out with the dude. And then people are commenting, like, it really takes me out of it that this nun was making out with a guy, because nuns don't do that. It's like, were you watching the rest of the film? This character gives up basically being a Vulcan. That's what she does. She's like, I don't want to follow logic. I don't want to live on Vulcan. I don't want to participate in this arranged marriage. I want to live my own life. And so I'm giving this up. And so she, defeats her husband, to be at the end, and her friends support her, and she smiles, and people were just triggered by it, that this Vulcan was smiling. Oh, you see Spock smile, when he had a reason to. Um, but it's interesting. She comes to this moment in life, realizes she's free. She realizes that her life is her own, and she has uh, the whole universe to choose from, what she wants to be and what she wants to do. And she also, in that moment, has her friends supporting her. And so I felt that it was appropriate for her to smile. A lot of people didn't like it, and put it in the comments, but that's okay. Um, it's um, maybe they weren't paying attention. I don't know, but that's, yeah, like Julie said, you can't please everyone. Shoot what you like. Really, it's interesting when you make real Star Trek. You should be trying to please the fans because you're selling it to them. When you're making a fan film, you're telling your own story. It's an expression of art. So yeah, make the fan film you want, and if people don't like it, they don't like it. Um, you meet any actors from Star Trek series and movies? Yeah, yeah. The first one that I met was Marina Sirtis when I was 13. She was at a convention in Tulsa. I met Frakes when I was 25. Um, I've met Connor Trenier. That was a really interesting one. Connor Trenier and I was actually working at that particular convention in a like official capacity as like a photographer. Um, and everybody was in the penthouse, hanging out after the first day of the convention. Connor Trenier comes up there, and then I see Robert Tran walking in, and he's got like an entourage of women with him. This guy's, he's a good looking guy, man. He's got girls with him. And I was like, look at that guy. Robert O'Reilly is like sitting around with some guys getting drunk and laughing, and Connor Trenier walks in, and he just like sits down, right across from me, and Super nice guy, man. He just like started a conversation with me. He's really into filmmaking. He's really into the craft, not just acting, but from how cinematography, how films are shot. And he and I had a great like 3 hour conversation about the differences between working on Enterprise and Atlantis, Stargate Atlantis, shooting film versus digital, Gene Roddenberry's philosophy on the future. He had all kinds of great opinions. He's got this great podcast he's doing with oh gosh, what's the name that played Malcolm Reed? Can't remember his name. My brain skipped the tracks, but they're this great podcast where they interview a lot of Star Trek actors, and I absolutely enjoy listening to it when I can. Um, One really great experience, though, that was directly related to Dominic Keating. That's right, Dominic Keating. Uh, so I met him. I've met him as well. Um, but one great experience with regards to fan film specifically was that in 2021 we were invited. Avalon Universe was invited to Star Trek Las Vegas officially. We were invited to Star Trek Las Vegas, and we got to be interviewed by Scott Mantz, who from Access Hollywood. And it was so special because we just got, we didn't have to pay to get in or anything. We were invited, and so we get in there. It was me and another one of our actors who's no longer with the project. Still a great experience. Vance was there representing Constar, Vance Major, and there were some just great moments. Like we're in the corridor, like in the hallway, the main hallway, and Garrett Wong, and I'd met Garrett Wong before. I'd met him at one of those Tulsa conventions where he was complaining about how boring his character was on Voyager and all of that. Well, he comes running down the hallway at S2. They just running. And he ran past Vance and I yelled, "He's running for that promotion." And he's like, "Screw you." And keeps going. And then one point we were all at this fan film booth. Denise Crosby walks up to us and wanted to know all about fan films and talked to us for 20 minutes and took selfies with all of us, and that was really sweet. um, and but one of the neatest moments was we were about to go on stage to talk about our films at STLV, and I get backstage for like the tech check because I was going to have them screen Cosmic Stream, and I go back there and there's Rod Roddenberry. And let me tell you, Rod Roddenberry is about the nicest guy in the world. He was so unbelievably sweet, and he just started talking to me, and he's like, what are you doing? And I said, we have these fan films, and he's like, "Oh, really? Yeah, those are awesome." He was in some fan films. He was in Star Trek Continues, and he watched Cosmic Stream backstage with us. And he looked up Avalon Universe and he said, it's really neat that people do this, that people would honor my father and do this. And so he was very, very kind. And it was like, wow, what a moment to the son of the creator of Star Trek. And he watches your fan film and is very kind about it. Um, it was really neat. So yeah, I've met a few Star Trek actors. I met Shatner. I met Shatner twice. Once when I was 15, he came to our area. Um, I met him again when I was like 35. I went to one of his Shatner's World shows and got my picture taken with him. He doesn't really interact too much with fans, uh, but there he was. It was nice to meet him, and he was nice enough. Um, when I was about that same age, I think 14 maybe, I got the opportunity to meet Will Wheaton, and he came to a convention in Northwest Arkansas, at a hotel, and I got to hang out with him for a little bit. And this is back in the era when Tyler Donovan and I were in Starfleet International for the first time, when we were teenagers and we were cadets. And so I was like wearing first duty style cadet uniform. It was like an exact replica of the uniform from the first duty. I was wearing that at the convention, and Will Wheaton signed my first duty style cadet uniform. So that was fun. So yeah, I've had the opportunity over the years to meet a few Star Trek actors. Tell you my favorite Star Trek actors are. My favorite Star Trek actors: Vance Major, Tyler Donovan, Victoria Archer, Alexandra Rexford, Gary Davis. Roy Ivy is here. I was backstage with Vance that day at STLV. This is a really special moment, both of us. And I said to him, this stage, there are all these real Star Trek actors that are getting interviewed on this stage. Dominic Keating, Connor Trinneer, Denise Crosby, Michael Okuda was there. Star Trek legends. But you know who's also getting interviewed on that stage? Vance Major. Because Vance Major made the effort, because he had courage to create his own story in Star Trek. And he has a part of the Star Trek universe that's his. So he's part of it. May not be official CBS canon, but hearts of real fans, he's done something. And I've always considered Leonard Vance's character to be a heroic Star Trek captain in the same vein as Picard or Kirk or anybody. And I feel that way about Tyler's character, Captain Mason. I feel that about Michaela Allenby, who's Alexandra Rexford's character. People who make fan films, we're telling our own Star Trek stories. Whether CBS accepts them, shuts them down, ignores them seems to be the preferable thing right now. We're making our own piece of this thing that we care about so much. And there's a reason we care about it. There's a reason it's endured for so long. It's a story of a better tomorrow. And people want to be part of, they want to be part of the idea of a better tomorrow. And I think that I truly, whether it's shot on a cell phone or a $20,000 Panasonic Varicam, I love fan films. I love them all, and I encourage everybody who wants to be a part of it to do it. When Brian Peterson wrote his fan film, and he called me, and we talked about it. He told me the premise, and I was like, "Man, you and I are going to be friends." And he and I enjoyed hanging out on that set, and he had a good time. So I'm always excited for people to contribute. It is a universe. Mine might be a separate universe. Um, it's a universe. There's room for everybody, and it's a community where we're all in this together. Um, so there you go. We got Daniel Vance with us. Look at this guy. He's so loyal. He just follows everything we do. Vance and I were making fun of the Flash last night, and he joined us for that. Thank you for being here, Daniel. Roy, of course. I appreciate that, Roy, and I appreciate you being here. Yeah, the Vance is an inspiration to me, and I gush over the guy a lot, but I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for him. I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for him. I really there was a time when I didn't believe I was good enough for Star Trek fan films. You had Star Trek Continues going on. You had a lot of really high quality stuff being made, and I didn't think I could do that. I didn't. I was like, I would, I'd make garbage if I did it, and I'd embarrass myself or whatever. And Vance just didn't care, man. Vance just didn't care. He was out there, and I'm going, who is this guy? Who is this guy? He's in his backyard. I'm like watching these films, going, this guy is in his backyard. He's literally in his backyard. He took a phone, put on some costumes. He got his friends with him. They went in the backyard. They shot some Star Trek, and by God, they put it on the internet. And I was like, this guy here is more courageous than I am. He's more courageous than I am. I would never have done that. Yeah, so I was envious. I was like, I just started commenting like, "Great job, man! Congratulations! Like, I'm so happy for you." Friend requests me. We start talking. He calls me on the phone. Man, he was the one who talked me into doing this. He's like, "You should do this." He's the one connecting with Neutral Zone Studios and with Ray Tessie. So if it weren't for Vance, I wouldn't be here. And so yeah, the guy's got a special, very very special place in my heart. Um, and he and I are brothers, just like Tyler Donovan and I been friends since 1991. We're inseparable, and I think that the wonderful thing about Star Trek fan films is that you you connect with other fans. You know what I mean? It's like there are so many great people that I would never have known if I hadn't embarked on this journey, because I've been able to talk to people all over the world. Um, connected with filmmakers in the UK, with Sam Cockings, with Nick Cook. Robin Hart is in Europe. Stuart Foley's in Canada. Um, wow, isn't that crazy? You know, I had this great idea when I was in my early 30s, for a football movie I wanted to make. I thought, man, I did some research. Like I really did some research, and I was convinced that if I made this football movie, it was going to make $30 million. And based on real statistics, real research, it had football, it had cops, it had everything. You know what I mean? Action, and it's like, but I needed $1 million. Needed $1 million to make this film. And I went all over the place. I went to rich people. I went to movie studios, you name it. And I kind of always just got this. It's like uh, uh, the other guy who was commenting, Mike Reed. Like, oh, good luck with that. Let us know how that turns out. It was like, man, it was frustrating. I spent like, I don't know, like 8 years taking it around to people, and it's a great idea for a movie. Great idea for a movie. Maybe on one of these I'll tell you about it. Uh, like all football, cops and robbers, guns, airplanes, all the ingredients, and people are like, yeah, yeah, how it turns out. And then so I stopped saying football and cops and robbers and guns and all of this, and I start saying zombies and spaceships. And suddenly people I've never met before, like, I'm gonna send you $1,000. I get a call from Cleveland, Ohio, and a guy's like, I'm gonna send you $1,000. And then people are all over the world are embracing what you do. Crazy how that works. Crazy. And Again, that thing would have made $30 million. You can't make a dime off Star Trek fan films. People love Star Trek fan films. People want to be involved. Even the people that can't be on set, they can make a contribution somehow, and they do, and they're proud of that. A lot of the people that gave us the most amount of money did end up being able to be on set with us. That was awesome. That was awesome to be able to take their dreams and say, like one person like, I just want to die. One person is like a lot of money shows up and says, I just want to die. That's all. I want to die scene. Okay, we can do that. That's not going to be hard. And it was fun. It was fun to kind of those dreams come true. One guy was just like, I just want to be a Klingon. I just want to be a Klingon. We put a clown mask on him and gave him a batleth. I thought that dude was I thought he was gonna explode. He was so happy. So it was a wonderful thing to see. What is a fan film lesson you learned the hard way? Ooh, there are a couple. A fan film lesson that I learned the hard way is you got to be careful who you trust. You've got to not ignore warning signs, because, and this isn't just a fan film lesson. I would say it's a film lesson altogether. Everybody wants this so badly. Not just fan films, again, regular films. People want to be actors. People want to be on screen. People want to be producers. People want to be involved with film. And people aren't always going to be above board in what their approach is. There are people who've seen make it in normal film and regular indie film by stepping on everybody they ever knew. There was one person in particular really left a bruise in my life, my filmmaking life, and then the person went on and stepped on so many other people to get to the top, and got to the top. But when they got to the top, everybody knew how they got there, and no one really forgot about it. But I've been a little. I care about people. I want to be kind to people. I want to give people an outlet for creative expression. I want people an outlet for healing if they use art for healing. And my boundaries were not respected, and I was taken advantage of a couple of times. And so I'm a lot more cautious about how deep I let people in to what I'm doing. If some dude shows up on set and says, I just want to be a Klingon, put him in a Klingon outfit. But I think with regards to really important key roles, I just had to say, I've got to change my methodology in this. When I'd had my bounds violated more than once, I had to go to a person and say, I don't really want to be your friend. I just want you to show up and act in my film and leave. I need someone to play this part, and I've let people be too close to me personally, and then take advantage of that. Just want someone who respects what I'm doing, does it because they want to grow as an artist, and this is what you get in return for it. I was honest. And what I can say is that the current group of actors that are the lead actors in Avalon Universe have been immensely respectful of my boundaries, and they've been immensely respectful that this is my creation. These are my stories. And another person who I want to compliment in that regard is Tyler. Tyler's always been very respectful. of what we've been doing and what they've been doing. He's always valued my perspective. He's always valued my vision. There have been people over the course of this that have asked for a lot of big things. If I'm going to be involved with Avalon, I want some big things. Tyler's never asked for anything. Tyler just be there. Tyler just wanted to play that part. Tyler just wanted to do this with me. And really got to hand it to him. He has never complained, and he's always been there when I needed him. Same is true of Victoria Archer. That person has given me no demands. There's no, I want creative control over my character. There's no, I want to change the story. There's no, I want to change this line. She just shows up and does what I ask. The only thing that Victoria Archer has ever asked of me is just to kind of work around her schedule a little bit, which, I mean, come on. It's not an unreasonable request. That's all she's ever asked, just kind of work around her schedule. But man, she showed up and said whatever. I watch FL Vocabulary. Watch that film. She said all that stuff. She didn't know what any of it means because it didn't mean anything. She just showed up and did it, and that's what she's always done. That's what she's always done. She didn't say, well, I want this character to be this way, or I don't like this storyline, or you need to change this for me, or I need something more, or I need, never ask for anything. Just, okay, I'm here because I enjoy it, is what she says. She has a good time. Another lesson from fan films, the hard lesson fan films is, I want to say I was kind of naive when I started, very naive. I thought that I could simply say, like, I don't want to be in the middle of all of these arguments, because fan films has like reputation, right? That there's a lot of drama behind the scenes. Well, you'll say, why is there so much film drama? That's a human beings thing on a basic level, but it's a film thing. Drama happens, and learn about the greatest movies ever made. Back to the Future, I think, is the greatest movie ever made. They had to shoot parts of it twice. They had to recast their lead actor halfway through shooting because there was drama, because the guy wasn't, the lead actor was more worried about his vision of what the character should be than was what the producers were intending. And so they fired the guy and got the money from the studio and got a whole Michael J. Fox, and the rest is history. And there are lots of movies like that. Die Hard. They were writing the script like 2 days of what they were filming. RoboCop, like, so many real movies have had drama on them. Fan films have drama. It was eye-opening to me that mixed martial arts is less competitive than filmmaking. I've told this story a little. Mixed martial arts, something I really love. You go do a roll. You go to the gym and you roll with some guy. You're simulating murder. He's trying to choke you. And at the end of it, somebody taps. They say uncle. Then that person is theoretically dead. And but at the end of it, this of clubbing each other in a kickboxing match or choking each other in a jujitsu match, you hug each other and you say thank you for making it better. Everyone's trying to stab everyone else in the back, it seems like, in filmmaking. What it is, it's more competitive than it should be, and that just bleeds into fan films a little bit. Same kind of thing. That's, again, CB's coming in and establishing these guidelines because they felt that it had become too competitive. There really was that weird thing where it was like, there was this filmmaker, there was that filmmaker, there was this filmmaker, and there was that one. And you were in one of these camps, right? In the old guard, you were in these camps. and those guys didn't like those guys. The wonderful thing about it is it's not really like that anymore. There are so many of us who are making the effort to respect and support each other. Um, Aaron Vanderclay, amazing filmmaker in Australia. He's very kind to us. We support him. Look, man, you got to credit's due. That guy makes some great fan films, amazing fan films, and I love watching them. So it's like you got like my hats off to you, man. You made something great. You know, it isn't. It's about art. You know what I mean? And if we're trying to like win a race or some nonsense, that's not what it is. How about we all just make cool stuff that we can all watch and go, man, that was really neat. Nick Book is competitive with Sam Cockings. They joined forces and they started doing even cooler stuff. Um, you know, we had an amazing opportunity to join forces with, Warp 66 Studios and Neutral Zone Studios and do Tales from the Neutral Zone, some stuff for for Federation Files at the same. Isn't that awesome? That's what we should be doing as a community, supporting each other. As glad as I am to see the community moving more in that direction, yeah, that drama's still there. There's been tons of drama internal to Avalon, like I talked about earlier, where it just didn't work out with some people. Um, the day that I announced that I was making a Star Trek fan film, a prominent legacy Star Trek fan filmmaker unfriended me, went on a rant, unfriended me. And I was like, I'm just doing what you did. Why are you getting all worked up over this? Um, and it was disappointing. And then another legacy Star Trek fan filmmaker in Alan Peters was very supportive of what we were doing. And of course, that drew the ire of people who don't like him. And that's been something that's been a struggle. So it's like, I guess the big lesson is that I thought that I could try and avoid drama. It's hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. But you figure out who your friends really are, people who really care. And, some of us we do our best to just stick together. And if someone's gonna be negative, that's the hardest part, is just to say, I'm not gonna pay any attention to it. There was something I would say that's pretty negative that happened over the past week that I haven't said anything about, that I thought was really petty. Um, but I haven't said anything about it because I'm not going to give it attention. I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to feed that beast. If someone wants to be petty, that's up to them. Has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to react to that. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Um, Your film with Cora, where you mix Star Trek and MMA, was like chocolate and peanut butter coming together. Well, I'm glad you like it. There have been people that have been pretty critical of it. In one sense, we talked about earlier with her smiling. Uh, People have been critical of how the fight was choreographed. People have been critical of how it was edited. Um, Again, from a creative standpoint, there was a reason for all of that. I wasn't the intent of that fight was not like Michael Burnham's gonna do a Die Hard. Like that's not where we were going with that. Um, the intent of that fight was, you've got this female character, and you have a male character who is in a way forcing himself on her, right? And so I felt like, in that context, wouldn't it be cool if we did some realistic women's self-defense instead of just like flying a bunch of punches and kicks and things. Just yeah, a lot of fights that you see in fan films are like a dance made to look like a fight, right? Choreography, that's what it is. Um, but I thought, what if we did a more realistic progression of real women's self-defense moves? Um, so that was part of it. We actually went through a a real progression from a martial arts class that Cora teaches. That came from a friend of hers who's you know a monster cage fighter. A really good friend of hers. That's that progression came from, and it was more realistic in the sense that if you watch an MMA fight, people kind of circle each other and feel each other out before they dive in. And also there was always there's the character motivation. I wanted some character moments there. I wanted those characters to react to each other and look at each other, and I wanted to see what they were feeling after these exchanges. So it wasn't just about it wasn't meant to be like a kung fu movie. It wasn't again Michael Burnham doing a Die Hard. That's not what that fight scene was. That fight scene was uh, more of a realistic interpretation of a woman defending herself using real techniques. And look, yeah, of course, it's a movie. It's not real, and so we could have gone bananas with it if we wanted to. There are no spaceships. There are lasers. There are no aliens. Well, I mean, they're probably aliens, but they're, you know what I mean. But in respect, we did something we that I, thought was more motivated by the characters and motivated by the situation. And it wasn't supposed to be the end all be all of martial arts fight scenes. It wasn't supposed to be, the Matrix. It was what it was, and I liked it. Some people didn't. That's all right. No one has to like it. Oh, hey Steve, how are you, man? No Budget and Filk Ferret Productions and Tecto Studios first film have joined forces in March for joint projects. Very cool. That's something that I really love about Vance doing right now is that when he finished his Menard story, his big motivation was to help other people make fan films. Wow. Isn't that cool? Like, again, I talked about a person who unfriended me because I announced that I was making a film, and everybody behind the scenes is like, well, that guy he wants to be the fan film guy. There are people like that. I'm not going to say names, but there are people like that outside of and inside of, fan films. They do it in real films. They do it in. But for Vance to sit there and go, I've finished what I set out to do. Now I'm going to help everyone else. That's awesome. That's character, man. That's character. And people can say whatever they want about the guy. People trash talk Vance, you know what I mean? I don't understand that. That guy he has put more people in fan films than anyone. He reaches out to normal people who want in fan films, not aspiring actors, normal people. We lost one of those people this week. We lost Steve Atwell. Vance put that dude loved being a Klingon. Vance put him in a fan film. He put him in a bunch of fan films. Martin Bennett, Sean Rimmer, so many people. Roy Ivey, me, like that dude has put more people in fans than like anybody. Just anyone who wants to be a part of Star Trek could be in a Vance film. There's a film on his channel called I think it's like Lost on a Planet or something. and it's this dude and his wife, and and they filmed it in their basement, right? And they've just got costumes on and they're holding their scripts and they're like, "It seems we're in a sticky situation." And they sent it to him and he put it on his channel and it has 1,000 views. I think it really says something about character that he would do that. I really do. That's an amazing thing. And so, yes, Steve, excellent. Excellent. I'm really glad you're making fan films. I've seen you posting things and posting pictures, and man, nothing like being part of it. I remember that the first time that I ever um, set foot on a fan film set, how I felt. They said, "You're going to be a kid when you see these sets," and I was, and ah, man, I really had a feeling that first time we made Ghost Ship was indescribable. It's like you're there, you're on the spaceship, you're doing this, you're part of this. It's indescribable feeling, and I've been chasing it years, for years. And I've loved every moment of it, and I'm so glad that everyone gets to be part of it. There was someone in my group um, that kind of tried to dissuade me from being in my own films. It's like that's defeats the point, you know. And now, if I were trying to make myself the lead character or something, that'd not be good, you know. But I made myself kind of a throwaway character, and I've enjoyed that. That's all I wanted was two things: uh, just be a part of it and have a good time. And I also act sometimes in projects more because I'm trying to gain perspective on what the actor's point of view is like so that I can relate to them better. Really, that's kind of why I do it. Terry says she could have used some self-defense moves in that last film. Yeah, she doesn't make it out, unfortunately. Not a big spoiler, but you'll see it. You'll see it coming. Roy Ivy, A Call to Unity. I can't believe I got that wrong. Okay. I guess that's a project they worked on together. Uh, Strum Valk. I love this guy. I can't tell you who he is, but he's cool. One of the most helpful guys you'll ever have on a film set. Anyone who criticizes the choreography of your fight scene should rewatch TOS and rethink their criticisms. Um, it's funny you say that because uh, one thought that I've had a lot is like we go back you go back to Ghost Ship, and I did this like elaborate fighting with Killer and the zombie, and I'm like doing all this choreography, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna sweep him, and then you're gonna kick him, and all, and God bless Tyler, he really worked hard. Like he came to the martial arts gym with me and tried to learn all the moves, and he practiced and he practiced and practiced, and then like the day of, he like cracked one of his ribs. He's like, like my rib hurts. I'm like, you probably did it wrong. Uh, but it looks good in the film. But after that, I was like, man, we really need to just do some fu. You know what I mean? Like because we had all these fight scenes and films, and I was just like, just be like doing this and doing that, and that might be more fun. That might be more fun. And what we did in Once in Future Captain, there's some Kirk Fu in there. I've wanted it since the beginning. I love Kirk Fu. I have the book of Kirk Fu. There's the rolling chops. There's the double forearm, double hammer fist. There's a move that I've always wanted to do called the human bowling ball. It's in Apple, where like the townspeople are coming with like sticks and stuff, and Kirk just like rolls underneath them and starts knocking them over like bowling pins. Like I've always wanted to do that move in a fan film. Hopefully, we'll get to do that someday. Um, Commodore Boone's landscape. Thanks for being with us. I've been on No Budget 4 times as Commodore Boone, and this year Admiral Boone. Well, Jim, again, I got to hand it to you. You carved your own place in the Star Trek universe. That's awesome. Keep on, man. Keep doing it. Don't let anyone stop you. I featured myself far less than the showrunner of Picard. Well, that may be true. I'm trying to think how many episodes I've even been in. I was in Ghost Ship. I was in Avalon Lost. I was in Air and Darkness. I think Air and Darkness was the last time my character. New Orders. That's the last one I was in with Vance. Uh, I'm. The plan is for me to be in Knights of the Void. We'll see if that works out. Oh, here we go. A musical episode, you say? Oh, wow. Give me a second here. Okay. There's a gentleman who has an idea for a musical. And he's written a script, and he's given me this script, and I have not read this script. And the person who authored this script was none other than Jonathan Lane. He has written Avalon the Musical. And as you would expect, there are a lot of dad jokes and puns and things in it. I know this because he told me, and Ray Myers has also read the script and given me a synopsis. And Jonathan's like, "Hey, read the script, dude." And I told him, I said, "I've got a lot in my buffer right now." And again, these films made. And I said, let me get a little water out of the bucket, and then I'll start looking at this. I told him I'm not saying no to this idea, but if we do it, there's going to be some conditions, and I think he'll have to raise the money to finance it and then we're going to have to talk a lot with Kevin Croxton, because Kevin Croxton is he is the genius when it comes to musicals. If you've not seen his work, he makes these great musical fan films. He made James Bond. He made a James Bond one that's like winning film festivals all the place. Brilliant. He made a really great Batman one. He made a Star Trek one, and right now he's working on Indiana Jones, and it looks amazing. Looks amazing. And I've been on set with Kevin while he's making these, and it's so neat. He's out there and he's like, okay, so this is the shot where the camera swings over, and it's like da 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 da, and then he's like singing the notes as the camera move is going on, and then he records all the dialogue, all of the for the actors that they sing in pre-production, and then they lip sync while they're doing it. It's the whole thing's like a big music video, but it's elaborate. It's a different kind of production than a narrative. So I would think that I would have to talk a lot with Ken if I were going to do a musical. I'm not saying no to it, okay? Um, I want to say no to it, but I'm not. I just think that Jonathan's going to have to give me some help if we decide to do this. And, he's going to have to convince our past members to be involved because it's a big deal. Yeah, Warren wants to do this, by the way. Some of the other cast members that I've heard about this idea are kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I could do this or not. Warren, Warren, like, we need more Jakande. All we need is more Jakande. He's always, whatever gets him on screen more, he's up for. So Warren's up for that. I don't know how he fits in this script. I should read the script. As a musical, I would think that it would definitely fall in the category of a parody and thus solidly unfair. Yes, yes, absolutely. And I've told Jonathan this, that you do have a lot more flexibility in that sense, because it is a commentary, it is a parody, and his script, of course, is a parody. I mean, it's all Jonathan Lane humor. At least that's what I've been told. I will find out when I read it. But it's we all traveled in the yellow machine, a yellow time machine, a yellow time machine. I've heard things like that. So yes, it would be a parody, and it would fall in their use. How this started, I can't believe we're going off on this tangent. But how this started was, he read the script for Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, and he violated one of my pet peeves. And that is that he read the script, and then he emails me back, and he's like, "Hey, I did some writing on your script. Read it and tell me what you think." I'm like, okay. Normally I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, if I want someone to collaborate on the script, I'll give them access to the script writing software and say, "Hey, yeah, go. I've done that before. Feel free to do a revision." If I ask someone, but it's not normal for that you someone's script go, "Oh, I rewrote it. I fixed your script." Someone else did that. It's a friend of mine, and I was like, "All right, man." Kept some of those ideas the first time that happened. I wasn't, I was like, okay, well, that was a rude thing to do, but you have some value here in some of the things that you wrote, and I kept them. But Jonathan does this, and Jonathan's made a huge effort over the past few years to be a good friend. So I read his revision, and what he did was, we have all these different, in Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, we've got all these different universes, and counting one, and different Excaliburs from different universes. So there's the Prime universe, there's Mirror universe, there's the Avalon universe, there's the Kelvin universe, and several others. There, we expanded outside. You got like Babylon 5, you got Stargate, you got Galaxy Quest. All these universes are encountering each other. So Jonathan, that's another universe, and that is I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but we filmed it. A Way to Eden hippie universe. So, like, if you've if you've seen the TOS episode Way to Eden, it was an episode about space hippies. So he wrote a universe where the space hippies have taken over the entire Federation, and instead of just the USS Excalibur, it's the love ship designation Excalibur, the LSD Excalibur. And The captain is Captain Flower Blossom, and uh, there's a version of Mason who is basically Elvis Presley. Film, we did it. He knew. You got to give this guy credit. Jonathan Lane knew what buttons to push to get me to go for his idea. He knew how to get me to listen to him. He played every card in that deck, and I went, right, Jonathan, I'll do it. He made a contribution to the crowdfunding. Okay, so we did it, and after that, he loved it, and he was like, "Now I'm going to do Avalon the musical," and I was like, "I have created a monster." So, will we do Avalon the musical? I don't know. Um, I'm not saying no. What I'm saying is, once I get past, the meat and potatoes of what we're doing right now, I will read it. And if Jonathan's willing to do his part, then we might just do it just because it really hasn't been done, at least like this. So, as Spock would say, there always are possibilities. And that's for Jonathan, that's like, so you're telling me there's a chance. um but no, look, man, people give Jonathan a hard time. They do, because he's a character. He really is, putting it mildly. But he's not a bad guy. He uh he he's been there for us the past couple of years whenever we needed him. He's been there for me personally when I was struggling a few different times over the past couple of years. He was there for me. um look, he lives in California. He's got kind of a different perspective than a lot of us do. And we've had some interesting conversations, but he genuinely, look, I was in a situation with him where I felt like I was in a kind of conflict triangle. And the thing that I respected about him was that he said, "Yeah, I did X, Y, and Z. I admit it. I wanted to make Interlude my way." And then what he did after that was he made up for it. He said, "Okay, I put you through a difficult process with this film I wanted to make. Now I'm gonna help make your film." And he did it. He did it. He kept his promise. So whatever anyone wants to say about him, he's kept all of his promises. He has. He worked with me to compromise on Interlude. He worked with me to make sure that my voice was a part of Interlude. And I appreciated that. I appreciated that. So, will we make a musical? I'm not saying no. Wow, we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes, and people have stuck with this for whatever reason, but I'm glad. I'm glad you guys are here. If anyone's got any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Um, I'm I'm proud of everybody that's worked on this project. I'm proud of everybody that's worked on Avalon Universe. That, man, we did 5 really difficult shooting weekends, 5 really long days, or 10, 12, 14, whatever it was, really long days where it was cold, it was hot. Everybody came through. Everybody was amazing. So, uh, I somebody like Terry will say, "I'm honored to be a small part of it." I'm honored that you would be a part of it. honored that you would be a part of it. I'm honored that you would take your time, that all of these people gave of their time to work on this creation. I'm grateful for that. Um, so and I'm grateful that, there are more people in this watching this than I thought. So I'm grateful to all of you for supporting us, for lending your talents, lending whatever you have to give. So many of you have contributed, and so when I have more stuff to, oh, yep, can't forget Keith. You know, honored to help out fellow Arkansas creative. Wasn't that cool? I mean, again, going back to the people that you meet, like Keith doesn't really live all that far from me, um, and yet I might have never have known him if it weren't for this. And man, dude's doing a killer job. You should see the stuff he sent me the other day. You will see it. Um, Hopefully in 2 months, maybe even before that, for one of those films. So I'm gonna go ahead and check out on this. Just wanted to interesting and illuminating. I'm glad that you think so. I can talk. I guess if there's one thing I can do, I can do that. There are certain things that I can do well, and there are certain things that I cannot do very well. And sometimes I can speak well. So I'm enjoyed it. I will probably do this every now and then. Again, the difference between the Avalive, the Cosmic Stream is the Cosmic Stream is more like going to be more like Robservations, like where I'm sitting here rolling on Robert Meyer Burnett, uh, which I watch his thing. I listen to him sometimes while I'm working on other stuff. But I want to thank everybody for coming. This is gonna be fun. The next live stream we'll do going to be this coming Wednesday. We're going to be talking with A.T. Branch, actor A.T. Branch. He played the Captain John Chandler in The Test of Time. It was cool. He did a good job. And he wasn't able to make it when we did kind of the roundtable style discussion on Test of Time. So he's going to come talk to us. Because of his schedule, we're going to have to go a little early, which is like 6 o'clock Central. Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks, Mark. Look, you guys, think of questions you have for me for the next one, whatever. Welcome to hang out anytime. I'm glad you made it. But yeah, A.T. Branch on Wednesday. We're going to talk about his acting career. Dude's seriously a cool guy. His part in Test of Time, what he's got going on. So everybody's invited to come Wednesday night. We're going to be going at 6 p.m. That'd be 6 p.m. Central, so it's like 7 p.m. Eastern. Simply because of his schedule for that. So join us then, and live long and prosper. Thanks, everybody.